Ever feel like the odds are against you? Like no matter how hard you try, you just can't get ahead? The powerful make deals behind closed doors while the rest of us struggle to make ends meet. This isn't just a feeling. It's a reality many Americans face daily. In modern American politics, lobbyists hold immense sway over the laws that govern our lives. They influence decisions that affect us all daily. They are the puppet masters, and our elected officials often dance to their tune. This isn't a conspiracy theory, it's a fact. Corruption and undue influence undermine our democracy. From the food we eat to the air we breathe, every aspect of our lives is touched by decisions made in the corridors of power. From healthcare to education, the influence of lobbyists is pervasive and often detrimental. Lobbyists shape policies to benefit corporations at the expense of everyday Americans. Their influence spans every sector. I will reveal the insidious influence of lobbying on American democracy. We'll explore how these players manipulate the system to serve their interests. By understanding the impact, we can begin to reclaim our democracy and ensure it serves the people, not just the powerful. The story of lobbying in America is as old as the nation itself. From the earliest days of the Republic, the halls of power have echoed with the voices of those seeking to shape policy and influence decision-makers. From the very beginning, individuals and groups sought to influence the newly formed government. This included the Rockefeller family. These early influencers were often prominent citizens, landowners, and businessmen who had a vested interest in the direction the young nation was taking. In the early days of the Republic, politics were a more gentle affair, often conducted over tea and crumpets in the parlours of Washington's elite. These gatherings were as much about socializing as they were about politics, with discussions often taking place in an atmosphere of civility and mutual respect. One of the earliest examples of organized lobbying dates back to 1792, when veterans of the Revolutionary War formed the Society of the Cincinnati. This group, composed of officers who had served in the war, sought to secure pensions and other benefits for their service. They successfully lobbied Congress for pensions, setting a precedent for veterans' advocacy that continues to this day. Their efforts demonstrated the power of organized groups to effect change and laid the groundwork for future lobbying efforts. However, as the nation grew, so too did the stakes. The expansion of the United States brought new challenges and opportunities, and with them a greater need for influence and advocacy. With the rise of industrialization in the late 19th century, a new breed of lobbyist emerged, one armed with vast sums of money and a single-minded focus on advancing the interests of big business. These industrial magnates and their representatives wielded significant power, shaping legislation to favor their enterprises and amassing great wealth in the process. The nature of lobbying had evolved, becoming more complex and at times more contentious. The Industrial Revolution transformed America, but it also gave rise to powerful corporations that sought to shape the rules of the game in their favor. These titans of industry understood that political influence was just as valuable as economic might. The railroads in particular were notorious for their lobbying prowess. They understood that control over transportation meant control over commerce, and they used their influence to secure favorable land grants, subsidies and regulation. The rise of corporate lobbying marked a turning point in American history, as the balance of power began to shift away from the people and towards the corporations. The Interstate Commerce Act of 1887, often hailed as a victory for the common man, was actually a testament to the growing power of corporate lobbying. While the act was ostensibly designed to regulate the railroads, it was the railroads themselves who played a key role in shaping the legislation. The Pullman Strike of 1894, a nationwide railroad strike that paralyzed the country, further exposed the influence of corporate interests. George Pullman, owner of the Pullman Palace Car Company, used his connections to President Grover Cleveland to deploy federal troops against striking workers. The government sided with big business, a pattern that would repeat itself throughout the 20th century. War, peace, and the corporate lobby. The 20th century saw two world wars and the rise of the United States as a global superpower. These conflicts reshaped the world order and had profound impacts on both international relations and domestic policies. It also saw the continued expansion of corporate lobbying as businesses sought to influence government policy on everything from wartime production to post-war reconstruction. Corporations recognized the immense opportunities presented by war, and they were quick to capitalize on them. During World War II, companies like General Motors and US Steel reaped enormous profits from government contracts. These contracts were essential for the production of military vehicles, weapons, and other wartime necessities. The scale of production was unprecedented, and so were the profits. At the same time, they used their lobbying muscle to ensure that those profits were taxed at favorable rates. Lobbyists worked tirelessly to shape tax policies that would benefit their corporate clients, ensuring that the financial gains from wartime production were maximized. The post-war era saw the rise of the military-industrial complex, a powerful alliance between the government, the military, and defense contractors. This complex became a driving force in American politics and economics, influencing decisions on national security and defense spending, all of whom benefited from a permanent state of war or the threat of war. The Cold War further entrenched this alliance as the constant threat of conflict justified continuous military spending and the expansion of defense industries. This era marked a significant shift in the relationship between the state and private enterprise, with lasting implications for both peace and conflict. The information age, a new battlefield. The late 20th and early 21st centuries ushered in the information age, and with it, a new era of corporate lobbying. The rise of the internet and the telecommunications industry created a gold rush for companies seeking to dominate this new frontier. The 1996 Telecommunications Act, hailed by some as a landmark piece of legislation, was in reality a massive giveaway to the telecommunications industry. Lobbyists for companies like AT&T and Verizon successfully pushed for deregulation, paving the way for consolidation and reduced competition in the industry. Reclaiming our democracy. The story of lobbying in America is a cautionary tale, a reminder that eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. The influence of corporate interests has reached unprecedented levels, threatening the very foundations of our democracy, but it's not too late to fight back. The power of lobbyists is not absolute. They derive their influence from the apathy and ignorance of the American people. By becoming informed, engaged citizens, we can reclaim our democracy from the grip of special interests. The power of one. You might be thinking, what can one person do? The system is too big, too corrupt. But history teaches us that ordinary people have the power to create extraordinary change. Every great movement for social justice, from the abolition of slavery to the fight for women's suffrage to the civil rights movement, started with the courage of individuals willing to stand up and speak truth to power. A crossroads for America. We stand at a crossroads in American history. The choices we make today will determine the fate of our nation. Will we allow corporate interests to continue to dictate our laws and our lives? Or will we rise up and reclaim our democracy? The answer is in our hands. Let us choose wisely. Let